Good morning, everyone. I would like to call the Senate Finance to order. Would you please call the roll?
Senator Cannizzaro, Senator Goycochea, Senator Harris, Senator Neal, Senator Wynn, Senator Severs-Gansert, Senator Titus, and Chair Dondero Loop.
And please mark those present as they arrive. We have a plane circling, so we're hoping we get those people here, and we have several people on that plane. So anyway, thank you very much. And first, of course, I probably don't need to tell this audience, but please silence your cell phones. And today on the agenda, we have 4 BDRs that require committee introduction, and then we have 3 bills up for hearing. So we'll begin with the committee BDRs. Committee members, at your desk, you have a copy of the following BDRs. BDR 14-1092, which revises provisions governing the distribution of proceeds of certain administrative assessments. BDR 19-1076 revises provisions related to the Division of Enterprise Information Technology Services of the Department of Administration. BDR 40-1071 revises provisions governing emergency medical services. And BDR 43-1081 authorizes the use of testing devices to determine the presence of a controlled substance or prohibited substance in the oral fluid of a person in certain circumstances. These are all BDRs requested by the Governor's Office of Finance in order to implement the budget as submitted, and I would entertain a motion as submitted. So moved by Senator Cannizzaro, a second by Senator Gansert. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. And now we will move into our bill hearings. And first up is Senate Bill 98, which revises provisions relating to education. Senate Bill 98 is sponsored by the Senate Committee on Finance on behalf of the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Education, and I will be presenting this bill with State Superintendent Joan Ebert. So I'll pass the gavel on to my Vice Chair for this portion of the meeting.
Hey, welcome to our chair and Superintendent Ebert. It's nice to have you this morning. We will open the hearing on Senate Bill 98, and Madam Chair, whenever you are ready.
Thank you very much, Madam Vice Chair. And members of the committee, I am Marilyn Dondero Loop, representing Senate District 8 in Clark County. I am presenting Senate Bill 98, which revises provisions concerning the Commission on School Funding and funding for students enrolled full-time in distance education. Beginning with some background information, I served on the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Education during the last interim. As we all know, funding is a critical component of education, and as such, the committee spent considerable time over the interim contemplating topics relating to education funding in Nevada. Chair Guy Hobbs of the Commission on School Funding presented various general and specific funding topics and recommendations. During the July meeting, Chair Hobbs informed the committee about the challenge in navigating the specific period of time the commission can meet. The committee discussion then focused on the potential benefits if the commission was allowed to meet outside of these dates and contributing to funding conversation. The committee ultimately voted unanimously to recommend this flexibility. Another recommendation provided by the commission focused on funding of online district and charter schools. Currently, online district schools are funded at the adjusted base, while charter schools are funded at the statewide base. After reviewing data from both areas, the commission recommended to the Interim Education Committee that both be funded at the statewide base per pupil amount to ensure equitable funding. At its August work session, the Committee on Education unanimously voted in favor of this recommendation. Finally, in October of 22, the Interim Education Committee heard additional recommendations from the commission concerning possible areas of study related to school funding in Nevada. The commission first discussed the struggles the smaller school districts can face to acquire funding on pace with their capital and facility needs. Chair Hobbs reviewed challenges these small districts face, such as certain counties already meeting the property tax cap, leaving them struggling to improve capital. Next, the commission discussed the new funding sources applying to education and recommended developing a performance metric to assess how these sources are being applied and what results they are having. Furthermore, the commission noted the high number of vacancies in education positions. Chair Hobbs indicated the discrepancy between the number of new teachers produced in Nevada and the number of teachers needed to fill these vacancies, and explained the need to further study whether Nevada is competitive enough to attract teachers from out of state. Finally, Chair Hobbs discussed the need to modernize Nevada's sales and property tax systems and noted the possibility of exempting the school operating rate of the overall combined property tax rate from abatements to allow it to generate additional revenue. Ultimately, the committee voted to propose legislation requiring the commission to study these topics. With that background in mind, I will now walk the committee through the specifics of the bill. Section 1 requires certain funds to be provided to each pupil enrolled full-time in a distance education program using the statewide base per pupil rather than the adjusted base per pupil rate. Additionally, Senate Bill 98 authorizes the Commission on School Funding to meet during any regular or special session of the legislature if requested, rather than being authorized to meet only between the July 1st of the odd year and September 30th of the subsequent even year. Section 7 requires the commission to study school funding topics, including matters relating to the funding of building improvement and modernization projects by small school districts, performance metrics to assess the impact of increased investments in K-12 public education, and accountability measures to ensure the effective use of such investments. Next, the number of professional educators graduating from Nevada's higher education institutes, the classification and compensation of professional educators and support personnel at public schools, and changes to the laws governing sales and use tax and property tax to fully fund public schools in Nevada at an optimal level. Lastly, Section 6 appropriates $320,000 for purposes related to these studies. As you all know, there are a number of bills proposed that address the Commission on School Funding, its ability to meet, and the assignments suggested where the Commission should conduct further research. In addition, the money committees have done work on online distance and charter schools. As these bills and the budget proceed through the legislature, Senate Bill 98 could stand ready to serve as a vehicle to finalize the decisions on these and other matters that should be addressed in education. Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members, for considering Senate Bill 98. And now I would like to turn the microphone over to Superintendent Joan Ebert for further information, and I urge your support on this bill, and we will be happy to answer questions after her remarks.
Good morning. Thank you, Vice Chair Canizaro, Chair Dondero Loop. I'm honored to sit here to add to the conversation in Senate Bill 98. Senator Dondero Loop presented as the Commission on School Funding presented their information, and we're very pleased that this body took the recommendations and added them to Bill 98. The final thing that I would add this morning is that, as she noted, there are a lot of moving parts with various bills related to the Commission on School Funding and the funding of education in general. And so we will all continue to track where we're headed to make sure we move forward in the best interest of our children. Thank you.
Great, thank you both. At this time, we will go to questions from members of the committee. Senator Titus.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, and thank you, Madam Chair, for bringing this forward. And just a couple of clarification questions. So on Section 1, number 2, then C-1, the very first thing you brought forward was the statewide base per pupil funding amount for each pupil estimated to be enrolled full-time in a program of distance education provided by the school district. So we're including these kids, but yet then at the very next time on the section, it would be page 6 of the bill, which is then Section 2, number 2 dash A, then dash 1, we're not going to count those kids when we're counting all the pupils enrolled in kindergarten 1 through 12. It's excluding these kids so yet we're going to fund them, but then we're not counting them. How does that work?
For the record, State Superintendent Joan Ebert, thank you for the question. So as on page 3, you have C1,
Right.
and then it talks about and the adjusted base per pupil funding for each pupil estimated to be enrolled in the school district other than the pupils identified in subparagraph 1. So right above, so the distance education students would receive the base, but not the adjusted. On page 6,
Right.
that is addressing the students being removed from the adjusted portion of the formula.
On section, it says on number 4, October 1st, you're supposed to get a count, basically bottoms in a seat, and then you're not supposed to count the count of pupils enrolled in kindergarten grade 1 through 12, inclusive of all public education in districts, and the average daily enrollment, but you can't include the distance learning. So it just seems to me it's counterintuitive, because then we won't have an accurate count of what we're spending.
Deputy Superintendent Megan Peterson, for the record. In order to perform the calculation as identified in that earlier section, in the statute, currently all pupils are included in the average daily enrollment count. So they are removed in order to complete the calculation as prescribed in that section. And then on page 7, those students are added back for a separate calculation. So they are reflected.
So you remove them and then you add them back.
Correct.
What does that gain if we're paying them the same?
Deputy Superintendent Megan Peterson, the gain is related to the differentiation in how the calculations are performed. Because the students are being identified only to receive the statewide base, we have to separate them out in order to calculate the statewide base plus the adjusted base. Only the school district's students not enrolled in an online school or charter school would receive the statewide base.
So they would not be entitled to anything like a special ed base or living adjustment or any of those adjustments at all? They just always will get the base?
Deputy Superintendent Megan Peterson, for the record, according to the statute, they would be entitled, but I do believe. Yeah, the special education students are funded through a different count that isn't reflected in this section.
Thank you. I just want to make sure we're capturing all the kids at their level of needs, so thank you.
Senator Severs-Gansert.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Just to follow up on Senator Titus's comments, and so they'll get the base, and for special ed, it's completely different, but if you're at risk or EL or gifted and talented, none of the online learning folks would receive that money. It's just the basic amount under this change.
Deputy Superintendent Megan Peterson, for the record, the counts that are used for the weighted categories are received through the October validation count, not through the average daily enrollment counts, so those would remain unaffected.
So all the online would be just the base because they're not included in that other count. So they're the average daily count, and so it's the $9,000. It's probably not $9,000, but whatever the base is. So again, EL, at risk, gifted does not go to online learning, and then special ed a separate category. So that gets no. So that's not right. So I'm still not getting it exactly right.
Deputy Superintendent Megan Peterson, for the record, those schools are still entitled to those weighted count fundings. This is just identifying the set of students who would receive statewide base only. The weighted funding is
It's
administered.
a totally different calculation.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Additional questions from members of the committee? Senator Neal.
Thank you, Madam Majority Leader. I had a question on an existing piece of law, right, in Section 7. And so there weren't any changes to what the commission will study, even though there may be new things that they might need to address, right? So I was just wondering about that because some of the things we're really just looking at the performance of what has happened, but not, there's some things that we probably need to consider in terms of not just the money, but, and I saw the language in there about how the investment is working, but I didn't see the language that's tied to the academics.
Thank you, Superintendent Ebert. For the record, you are absolutely right. In this instance, this is items that were listed without limitation. They wanted to make sure that these items were addressed. In other bills that have been proposed this session, you will see a lengthy list of academics, and that could be considered.
Any additional questions from members of the committee? Okay, I'm not seeing any, so thank you very much. We will move on to take testimony on Senate Bill 98. If you are here in Carson City and would like to testify in support of Senate Bill 98, please go ahead and you can fill these 3 chairs up in the front. If anyone in Las Vegas would like to testify in support of Senate Bill 98, you can feel free to take one of those 2 chairs up there. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Mary Brzezinski, here representing Nevada Association of School Superintendents, and we understand that this bill is reflecting what the commission has recommended, and so we are in support. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And I don't see anyone down in Las Vegas, so if we can catch BPS, if we can look on the phone for anyone wishing to testify in support of Senate Bill 98.
Thank you. If you would like to testify in support of Senate Bill 98, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. We have no callers for support at this time.
Okay, great. Great. We will move then to opposition on Senate Bill 98. If you're here in Carson City to testify in opposition, come on up. I'm not seeing anybody move. Anyone in Las Vegas in opposition to Senate Bill 98? Let's go to the phones, BPS, if there's anyone who wishes to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 98.
If you would like to testify in opposition to SB 98, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. There are no callers for opposition at this time.
Finally, neutral. Anyone neutral on Senate Bill 98 here in Carson City or Las Vegas? I'm not seeing any. If we can check the phone lines for anyone wishing to testify in neutral.
If you would like to testify in neutral for SB 98, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. We have no callers for neutral.
Okay, great. Thank you. Madam Chair, anything that you would like to add in closing? No? Okay. Then that will close out the hearing on Senate Bill 98. Thank you very much for that. And we are going to open up the hearing on Senate Bill 339 and welcome our chair back to the dais to present to us Senate Bill 339.
Thank you very much again, Madam Vice Chair and members of the committee. For the record, I am Marilyn Dondero Loop, representing Senate District 8 in Clark County. I am presenting Senate Bill 339, which authorizes the reimbursement of teachers and specialized instructional support personnel for certain out-of-pocket expenses. My intent for Senate bill was to model it after the program in the governor's budget last session, so I have a conceptual amendment which deletes the original bill and replaces it with what I had intended to put before you for consideration. That conceptual amendment should be at your desks in front of you. Our teachers and support personnel are hardworking, dedicated individuals that strive for their students' success. However, helping their students achieve that success can often come at very real costs for our teachers. The National Education Association reported in 2022 that well over 90% of teachers spend their own money on school supplies and other items their students need. These supplies can include paper, notebooks, pencils, classroom books, and more, which can be necessary for students to complete the work required of them and remain focused in the classroom. These contributions can cost on an average around $500 of teachers' own money. This spending, especially when coupled with the often low pay that teachers and specialized instructional support personnel experience, can contribute to them feeling disrespected. As such, it is necessary to address the practice of teachers and specialized instructional personnel using their own money to help create an environment in which students can succeed. The intent of Senate Bill 339 is to address the issue of teachers' funding of classroom supplies as an out-of-pocket expense. In the past, the Nevada Legislature provided legislation that addressed this issue. However, the process was very cumbersome. Last session, the legislature authorized going through a third party, which worked much more efficiently, and the teachers absolutely loved it. I will now briefly summarize the bill via the conceptual amendment. Senate Bill 339 seeks to support teachers in providing classroom supplies through making an appropriation to Nevada Department of Education in the amount of $10 million, providing for an authorization to grant the appropriated money to one or more organizations for the purpose of providing necessary classroom materials and supplies identified by teachers and specialized instructional personnel for their classrooms, providing for the requirement for NDE to enter into agreement to determine how the granted money will be used and outlining the provisions of such an agreement, and providing the individual awards would be set at $500 per teacher or specialized instructional personnel per year. I urge your support of 339. Our teachers and staff members have been put in this difficult position of needing to spend their own hard-earned money in order to support their classrooms, and they deserve reimbursement and support for such costs. I am happy to answer any questions you may have, and thank you very much for considering this bill. And Madam Vice Chair, if you don't mind, I'd just like to add a few personal comments. As a teacher myself, I can tell you I bought not only numerous supplies for the classroom, but sometimes you're doing something special. In elementary school, it could be anything from showing them different types of science experiences, or when you do field trips or you teach units. In high school, it could be that you need certain products to do those experiences, and everything in between. And I don't know a teacher that doesn't have snacks in their classroom to maybe help kids get through the day or reward kids as they get through the day. So I can tell you myself, and this has been years, but I remember one year specifically, and I would tell you it was probably been at least 20 or 30 years ago, I spent $700. So multiply that with what is going on now with the cost of things. So it's everything that we do in a classroom to help these kids succeed. So I hope with that you will consider passing Senate Bill 339. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to, thank you for bringing this bill. I think you've just outlined exactly why something like this is so important. A couple of questions. So as I understand it, this bill in the conceptual amendment is replacing what the mechanism that was in 339 to mimic what we had seen with Governor Sisolak's budget in the last legislative session in the 2021 session.
Thank you. Marilyn Dondero Loop, for the record. Yes, Madam Chair, that is correct.
And with this grant program, I remember very many conversations around the Donors Choose piece of it. Do you envision that this would also be with Donors Choose, or just setting it up so it's a similar partnership?
Marilyn Dondero Loop, for the record. Absolutely, Donors Choose will be considered. The teachers loved the very clear succinctness of Donors Choose. It was easy for them to access. It was sent to their classrooms. So some of those things, school classroom supplies, for example, would very much come through that. And Donors Choose has been a great partner. I can call Superintendent Ebert up, and she might be able to give further information about what the department has used in the past.
Do you want to come on up if you have anything to add to that, Superintendent?
Thank you. For the record, Superintendent Ebert, the program, and yes, thank this body for allowing the program to move forward with the federal relief funds prior. It was very easy on the educators. It also, too, It drove the dollar. Every single educator across our state knows what they need for their individual classroom. And so instead of just saying, here, someone's going to buy you X, Y, Z, every single classroom is unique, and every single teacher was allowed to and respected for their knowledge of what they needed. It also, I would say, went beyond our needs, because once it started, we thought it was going to be 6 to 8 weeks before teachers would have the materials in their classrooms. Literally, once the teachers put their project into the system, some of them received them within 4 or 5 days. And the teachers did not have to leave their classroom to go and purchase the materials as in prior programs, which was not bad, but now we have technology and vendors out there that can provide those additional supports and relieve the stress off of our educators.
Great, thank you. Additional questions, Senator Titus.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, and thank you, Chair, again, for bringing this forward. A couple just clarification questions. So the donor network that you can choose, still, that will continue to exist, so that if we want to donate to a certain classroom, we can still go online and do that? So this doesn't remove that entity, correct?
Superintendent Ebert, for the record, you are correct.
So how did the $10 million, follow-up question on that, Madam Vice Chair, sorry. How did you look at the $10 million, were all of the $8 million used up? Where did the $10 million figure come from?
Marilyn Dondero Loop, for the record. We just want to reach as many teachers as possible. And so with this amount, we're hoping to reach more teachers than we did before. And we also know that there has been some cost of inflation and what have you. So we just felt like this was a good amount for us to reach a lot of teachers in Nevada.
Does it roll over then if it's not spent? And does it accrue interest in the account that it's in?
Marilyn Dondero Loop, for the record. With that question, Senator, that is a great question, and I will need to clarify the rollover piece of that. I personally 100% can tell you I can't imagine there being any rollover because I know our teachers.
All right. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, for the questions.
Any additional questions? Senator Severs-Gansert, please.
My computer's high. Thank you. And so right now we use Donors Choose. And when we were first talking about Donors Choose, the percentage that they charge was significant, but there were some discussions about whether that would get reevaluated or renegotiated. And so what does it look like with the current program that we have with ARPA dollars?
Superintendent Ebert, for the record, we did, under the legislature, ask for reduction in their partnership cost. What the body asked specifically, there are still the taxes that, need to be paid on the piece. There's also the flat fee of $30 per project. Excuse me, I am not caught up on the current fee for a project for, all the processing. And those pieces would still be in place. The state last time brought it down to a 10% partnership cost. Their initial ask was a 15%.
Thank you. And first, thank you for bringing this forward because I think the teachers are really, really excited about it, and it was very successful. So you mentioned taxes, and so I know we had an issue with the National Guard tax day where the National Guard folks had to actually pay the taxes, and then there was a refund amount because when you put money into the school system, it should not be taxed, right? And so I wonder if there's a way for us to tweak this to make sure that we get a refund on the taxes if we are in fact paying taxes on all the items that are going to go into the classrooms of the public schools. So just a thought, maybe fiscal can work on that. So again, I thank you for bringing this forward. And do you intend to, I don't know if there's any other companies like Donors Choose, so will there be an RFP or are you able to amend that contract to extend it with new dollars?
Superintendent Ebert, for the record, I would need to check on if we could do either, which
Okay.
process we need to follow.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I don't see any additional questions. I know we have a lot of brilliant folks, and we'll look at we can check in that sales tax issue. I don't know if doesn't seem like we have other questions. So thank you. And thank you, Madam Chair. We will move then and open up testimony on Senate Bill 339. If anyone here in Carson City is wanting to testify in support of Senate Bill 339, I'll invite you to fill up these 3 seats here. I see we have someone down in Vegas, so we will go down to Las Vegas. And support of 339, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, committee members. My name is Marie Nices. I'm the president of the Clark County Education Association. I'm speaking in support of SB 339, and I'd like to thank Senator Dondero Loop and sponsors of the bill for bringing this bill forward. My first year of teaching, I received keys to my classroom, a class list, and some basic school supplies. As I'm approaching my 30th year in CCSD, I have spent thousands of dollars out of pocket to ensure that I had everything I needed to provide effective instruction. While some of my students' families would provide basic school supplies, I've only worked at Title I schools, and many of their families were working to provide for their families. So I made sure that my students had everything they needed. They had pencils and paper and basic supplies that were provided to me from the school. However, when we were given about a budget of $100, that budget would not last the entire school year. So I provided everything else. I wanted to make sure my students had things for literacy stations. I had to provide things for my small group instruction. So when my students ran out of pencils or things to do their homework, I provided that. So fast forward 30 years later, and not much has changed. Our first year teachers, before receiving their first paycheck, are out spending money to provide things for their classrooms, to set up their classrooms, as well to make sure that they have all the supplies they need to provide effective instruction. So I urge you to support Senate Bill 339, and I thank the sponsors again, and teachers will thank you as well. So please vote yes on Senate Bill 339. Thank you.
Okay. I don't see anyone else in Las Vegas, so we will come down here to Carson City, and please go on ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Vice Chair and members of the committee. My name is Sarah Adler with Silver State Government Relations. Today, speaking for myself in history and also for Washoe County district-sponsored charter schools I represent. So as me, when I began as a teacher, I used what I called the Ernie Fund at the time to go and cut up shower board to create individual whiteboards for all of my students. So incurred a lot of cost, and I think this will be very helpful to teachers. As the representative for some Washoe County charter schools, we liked 339 and we really liked the amended version of it because it goes directly to teachers, and our district-sponsored charters will not have to go through the district to be sure to be able to access these funds to support the education in their classrooms. So thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Alexis Salt, and I am a teacher in Las Vegas. I worked for Clark County School District for 16 years. Now I work in a charter. I'm speaking in support. Teaching is expensive, especially if you want to do it well. Our kids need incentives, they need manipulatives, and those things are not free, sadly. Kids are hard on materials too. I don't think that people who don't teach realize just how much wear and tear. I'm a reading teacher. My books, they last me 2 years if I'm lucky, because if the kids are really digging in, they're really bending and using those materials. So we really liked using Donors Choose. It was a great vehicle because we didn't have to leave. And anytime we don't have to go anywhere, that's good news. So I really want to thank the sponsors of this bill and give support. I would say it would be great if we could include paraprofessionals as well, especially because so many people are running classrooms right now that aren't licensed educators. And that's a whole nother, but it's the reality of the situation that we're in. And right now, our STEM teacher in my school is a long-term substitute. She needs more money probably than all of us because her class is entirely manipulative. So thank you again, and please support this bill.
Good morning. My name is Jamie Tedrinski, for the record, Tadrzynski. I'm a teacher in the Clark County School District. I teach geography and political science, and in addition to my classroom duties, I advise the Key Club, the Model UN, and the Junior Class Student Council. All of that requires money that is not directly provided to me. From the moment that I show up at 6:30 a.m. to when I leave at the end of the day, whether it be 3, 4, 5, sometimes even 8 o'clock at night, I am constantly surrounded by students. As it stands, I can only deduct $250 on my taxes for classroom materials. If you've ever been in a public schoolroom, you know there is a clear contrast from what the district provides to us versus what teachers provide. I strive to make my classroom warm, welcoming, and inclusive. My classroom is colorful, hopeful, and a place where kids want to be. All of that is currently self-funded. I am speaking in support of this bill. I believe that increasing the amount that teachers can comfortably spend, and also including paraprofessionals in that equation, and our long-term subs, which are ineligible to receive those monies, would be extremely beneficial. This, along with our Time for 20 initiative that we have been speaking about this session, will go to prove that teachers and support staff, long-term subs, every adult invested in our children in the Silver State are protected and respected. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Vicki Cradell. Excuse me. I'm a teacher in Clark County School District. I'm also president of NEA of Southern Nevada, and I'm on the NSEA board. We came here today to speak about this bill because I was a recipient of the money last year that we got through Donors Choose in a very tough year and during a tough time. That was like a glimmer of hope that there's people out there that care about the educators in this state. I too came to Clark County from California in 2013 and was handed a classroom with nothing in it. Desks, chairs, no supplies, no books, not one book in my classroom. So every book that has been put in my classroom was self-funded until last year when I used my Donors Choose money to bring the first chapter books my second graders had ever read. And if you could have heard the glee and the excitement and the squeals when we opened those boxes and put those books on the shelf. So this is a really important thing because public education is a tough place to be right now, and your educators are buying everything that makes their classroom inclusive and warm, and this money enables us to be able to do that without reaching into our pockets because, as you know, things are tough for everyone right now, and this bill would enable your teachers to be able to provide things that wouldn't be provided otherwise. Thank you.
Good morning. For the record, my name is Carlana, K-A-R-L-A-N-A, Kulseth, K-U-L-S-E-T-H. I'm here speaking as an individual educator from Clark County School District as well as a product of Clark County School District. I can tell you that for funding for budgeting for teachers has been abysmally put forth for decades. I remember being in an elementary classroom, 4th and 5th grade, and being provided very minimal supplies to do the things that my teachers would need to do or felt the need to do, along with materials, manipulatives, anything to make learning engaging. As a teacher currently, I teach 9th through 12th graders. I am a freshman class advisor. I teach journalism as well as English 9. Every single part of my job, whether I choose to do it off contract or on contract, requires materials, whether it's reading, writing materials, using papers to create foldables, things, tangible things for students to interact with. Anything that students interact with costs money. This year so far, between just providing supplies that I need to continue to engage my students, I've spent a lot of money on public behavior incentives. So I'm buying prizes as incentives for my students, and those aren't cheap because I don't believe in candy or food as a reward. Instead, I provide vinyl stickers for their binders and water bottles. I provide fidget toys and cute little kawaii pens. Those aren't cheap. As of I did the math this morning, I've spent about $2,000 on my students this year. And that's a lot of money, and I still have 2 months to go with my students. So I'm still probably going to have to purchase more of the incentives because that's what gets them going, because I'm showing interest in what they like. And it's really hard for a teacher, a long-term sub, a paraprofessional, or an educational support professional to engage students without something tangible for them to build that relationship with those students. So I am speaking in support of SB 339 as well as ask for you to vote yes for this. Thank you.
Good morning. For the record, my name is Steve Horner, H-O-R-N-E-R. I am a proud resident of Assembly District 8 and Senate District 11. I am president of the Nevada State Education Association Retired Teachers and Support Professionals. I cannot be any more eloquent than my previous speaker, so I'm just going to say, me too.
Good morning. For the record, Paul Marakin with the Vegas Chamber. Chamber has been supporting his previous allocations, and we are in support of SB 339 and appreciate the bill sponsor for bringing the bill forward. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Any more testimony in support either here in Las Vegas? I am not seeing any. So we will go to the phone lines. BPS, if there's anyone who wishes to testify in support of Senate Bill 339, we'll go to them now.
Thank you. If you would like to testify in support of Senate Bill 339, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Good morning, everyone. I'm calling in support of this bill. Anna Binder for the record. As of this year, we have upwards of 22 teachers, not including specials, amongst my 4 children in the Clark County School District. And we do our best to support them at their various campuses, as well as donating as much as we can sometimes through various Donors Choose projects throughout the community. We love the 2-time match. I actually do dip back and kind of wait for those. But our teachers really shouldn't have to rely on that. So I really like this bill. I'm so glad that it has as much support as it does. And I know a lot of our wonderful teachers are in the classroom teaching this morning. So just as a very supportive parent, I wanted to call in for them and say yes. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Theo Lopez. I'm with the Charter School Association of Nevada, representing the second largest educational K-12 system here. We are here in full support of AB 339. We want to thank the sponsor for bringing it forward, and anything we can do to support our teachers, we're in full support. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Chris Daly, Nevada State Education Association, the voice of Nevada educators for over 120 years. NSEA has been supportive of the school supply reimbursement account in previous years and supports its reinstatement. We ask that it be expanded to all classroom educators who use their own funds to purchase supplies. We appreciate the inclusion of licensed education professionals in the amendment and would ask to also include paraprofessionals. In 2019, NSEA supported AB 237 to expand the education personnel eligible to access the school supplies reimbursement account. However, this account was eliminated with the implementation of the new funding formula. Of course, federal funds were used to implement the Donor Choose model. It's well known that most teachers spend hundreds of dollars every year on supplies for their classroom. A 2016 questionnaire from the National Center for Education Statistics found 94% of teachers spend their own money on classrooms, with an overall average of $479 spent. Teachers at public schools spent more than teachers at charters or private schools. Meanwhile, teachers at schools with higher percentages of students eligible for free and reduced lunch spent the most out of pocket. However, many educators who engage with students also spend hundreds of dollars out of their pockets on expenses. This includes librarians, counselors, speech language pathologists, but it also includes paraprofessionals and long-term substitutes. And we would ask that they be included in this very worthy program as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, members of the committee. Nicole Rourke, representing the city of Henderson. We'd also like to thank the sponsor of this bill. We hear the same things that you've heard today from our teachers in Henderson schools, that they're laying out funds for different supplies to meet the needs of their students. So I really appreciate the comments by Superintendent Ebert that each teacher knows the needs of their classrooms. And so we feel like this bill really steps up to meet those needs. So we're here in support of SB 339. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional callers in support of Senate Bill 339?
That concludes all support. Everyone testifying in support.
Great, thank you. Then we will move to opposition. If you're here in opposition to Senate Bill 339, And I'm not seeing anyone in Las Vegas or Carson City, so we will go to the phones. BPS, if there's anyone who wishes to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 339, we will hear from them now.
If you would like to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 339, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. We have no callers to testify in opposition.
Great, thank you. Finally, we will go to neutral. If you are here in the neutral position, please come on up. Anyone in Las Vegas, which I'm not seeing, so we'll start here in Carson City and then we'll go to the phones.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Mary Przensky, here representing the Nevada Association of School Superintendents, and I'm only here in the neutral position because of the new amendment, which I have not shared with the superintendents. We meet on Thursday, and I'll be sharing that with them. We have been very appreciative in the schools. All the superintendents are very appreciative of the money that has been shared with teachers and parapros in the past. It's a great asset and very helpful to our classroom personnel. And we want to thank Senator Dondero Loop, who's always been right there in support of those kinds of programs. So thank you very much, and we will be back with you on this. Thanks.
Great, thank you. And I'm not seeing anyone else in neutral. Can we go to the phones and see if there's anyone wishing to testify in the neutral position on Senate Bill 339?
If you would like to testify in the neutral for SB 339, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. We have no callers to testify in neutral at this time.
Great, thank you. That will close out our testimony on Senate Bill 339. Madam Chair, any additional closing comments? Please, when you are ready.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, and Marilyn Dondero Loop. For the record, I just want to thank you and remind everyone that while we are supporting our teachers, that is coupled with supporting our children, because as these classrooms are made whole for those teachers, it only enhances the learning of our students, and that's where we're going with all of this. We want to make it the best learning possible for all of our kids as we move forward. So thank you very much, and I urge your support of Senate Bill 339.
Great, thank you. Madam Chair, that will close out our hearing on Senate Bill 339, and I will invite our chair back up to the dais to resume the meeting.
And now we'll go to our last hearing of the day, Senate Bill 341. Senate Bill 341 makes appropriations to the Food Bank of Northern Nevada and Three Square for the purpose of purchasing food for persons who are served by such organizations. Senate Bill 341 is sponsored by Majority Leader Nicole Canizaro. So please, when you're ready, Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning to you and the members of the Senate Committee on Finance. My name is Nicole Canizaro, and I represent Senate District 6 in the northwest portion of the Las Vegas Valley, and I'm happy to be here today this morning to present Senate Bill 341, which makes desperately needed appropriations to the Food Bank of Northern Nevada and Three Square, Southern Nevada's only food bank. Before diving into the presentation, I would like to introduce who I know you are all familiar with from even last week, Shane Piccanini, who is joining us from the Food Bank of Northern Nevada, and I'll turn it over to him once I am done, Madam Chair. We are now, of course, 3 years removed from the onset of the pandemic, and one of the primary issues that Nevadans experienced during that period of time was increased food insecurity. The food banks of Nevada have been the backbone of fighting food insecurity and have been relied upon heavily during this time. With the removal of the emergency allotments for Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP recipients, food insecurity is expected to only worsen as individuals and families are set to experience significant reductions in their benefits. And I know that this committee is very familiar with the expiration upcoming of those benefits and some of the impacts that is likely to have on our constituents. Now more than ever, because of that, and generally because food insecurity is still an existing issue for so many Nevadans, it is important for us to provide some assistance to our food banks so that they can continue to serve Nevadans across the entire state. These allotments proposed in this bill will help provide the necessary resources to our food banks so they may continue their life-changing operations to serve our state and address food insecurity. Senate Bill 341 makes an appropriation to the Food Bank of Northern Nevada of $1 million for fiscal year 23-24 for the fiscal year 23-24 and $1 million for fiscal year 24-25 for the purpose of purchasing food for distribution to people served by the food bank. The bill also makes an appropriation to 3 Square of $1 million in each year of the 2023-25 biennium for the purpose of purchasing food for distribution to people served by 3 Square. With that, Madam Chair, I want to thank you and members of the committee for your consideration of Senate Bill 341. And at this time, I would like to yield the microphone to Mr. Piccinini from the Northern Nevada Food Bank for his remarks on this measure. And at the conclusion of our presentation today, we'd be happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
Thank you, Madam Majority Leader. And members of the committee, my name is Shane Piccinini. I represent the Food Bank of Northern Nevada, and I probably don't need to spend a lot of time on this issue because you, as a legislative body this session, have been really engaged on this issue. There's a couple of things that I would like to enter into the record. The first is that the food banks have been serving an unprecedented number of people. If you hop in the way back machine, going back to 2018, the Food Bank of Northern Nevada was serving about 91,000 people. Right now, we're currently serving every month, so that was 91,000 people a month. Currently, right now, we're serving about 130,000 people a month. There are a whole bunch of different reasons for the increase in the need. The lack of affordable housing, the lack of childcare, inflationary pressures, supply chain issues, everything that we all experienced from 2020 to 2022 that are pandemic related have all, put the same pressures on all of us. And so now we have more people coming to us, in need of just trying to get by. And when you compound this with the loss of the pandemic SNAP benefits, their monthly benefits are going to go back to the 2019 levels. I would like to point out that the majority of people who are enrolled in the SNAP program now were not enrolled in SNAP in 2019, and so they are not entirely certain what the 2019 benefit would look like. The population that's going to be hardest hit with the rollback of those pandemic benefits and understanding that they were always meant to be temporary are going to be the seniors who could see their monthly benefits going from $200 a month down to $30 or $28 a month. So the appropriations that we're asking for both 3 Square and for the Food Bank of Northern Nevada is to help us be able to bridge what we're not able to get because of supply chain issues or because donations through the charitable food system are down. And so we're going to have to be able to supplement the what we hand out, what we distribute to our partner agencies and to our direct services, with healthy foods. And so with that, I would like to ask Camille with 3 Square just to go ahead and add any thoughts that they may have about 3 Square.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Camila Rios, and I am the community organizer at 3 Square, and I am here representing 3 Square for Senate Bill 341. 3 Square's mission is to provide wholesome food to hungry people while passionately pursuing a hunger-free community. On behalf of 3 Square, I thank the Committee on Finance for considering Bill 341. Three Square is Southern Nevada's only food bank and largest relief organization serving 4 counties, which are Clark, Lincoln, Esmeralda, and Nye. Three Squares, one in Southern Nevadans struggle with hunger. That's more than 341,000 in our community who are food insecure. 15% of people in Southern Nevada, which includes more than 130,000 children. The funds we hope to see appropriated to Three Square through Senate Bill 341 come at a time when Southern Nevadans will be continuing to cope with inflation, rises in cost of housing, as well as the loss of over $40 million in Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program emergency allotments. Your support of this appropriation will help us to distribute an additional 3 million meals in the community for each of the next 2 years, effectively ending hunger for nearly 18,000 Nevadans each year. Once again, thank you for your support and consideration.
Thank you very much. And with that, we'll go to questions from the committee. Senator Neal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So for Three Square, how much are your corporate giving dollars? How much do you guys receive?
Camila Rios, once again for the record, I wouldn't be able to give you that exact dollar amount right now.
Because I know that some of the partners were in the past, well, last year, Barrick, Boyd, Intermountain Health, and I think there's one more. I think it was just mining in general, but I know Barrick was called out, so you don't have their numbers on how much they gave in '22.
Camila Rios, again for the record, I do not have that information.
Okay, thanks.
Additional questions from the committee? Senator Titus.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, thank you for representing it, and thank you for giving the number from 2019, how many you serve a month compared to now. And do we have that for Southern Nevada?
Camila Rios, for the record, so I do have for the year of 2022, we were serving 300,000 Southern Nevadans.
A month?
That is for the year.
And for Northern Nevada, that was for a month, correct?
Shane Piccinini for the record. Yes, our number in the document is uploaded into Nellis. Those are our monthly service numbers. So right now, we're currently sitting at 130,000 people a month.
For Northern Nevada. And
Yeah, and I mean, keep in mind, though, that we serve like 14 counties.
Correct. So again, all the Southern Nevada folks have is for the year that you've served, not on the monthly basis. And I'm just looking if we can compare what it looks like in Southern Nevada, what you were doing in 2019 compared to what we're doing now. And the yearly thing doesn't get me there like we do in the north there.
Camila Rios again for the record. So I can give you an exact number of meals that we were serving per day, which was 104,000 meals per day that we were serving to Southern Nevadans.
Thank you for that. So 104,000 meals a day, correct? And that's on all total Esmeralda County, Nye County, Lincoln County, and Clark County?
Camila Rios for the record, yes, that is correct.
And follow-up question on that, Madam Chair. So when I've taken tours of the food banks in my rural district, and thank you, Shane, for allowing me to come out to Northern Nevada, but I've also gone to my rural counties and looked at what they have and what their supplies. They're not actually, they serve meals in some of them at the senior centers, but that's not the perspective in the rural. Certainly, they have places where you give out food, and you can come for that. Do you know how many serve that way versus the meal programs?
Camila Rios again for the record, so that is correct. Not just do we serve through Golden Groceries, which is our senior program, but we also serve through childhood nutrition programs, as well as the food pantries that we have throughout all Southern Nevada, and that number of meals per day encompasses that, because the way that we calculated it is also including the number of pounds of food served, which is then calculated to depending on the number of pounds of food served, we calculate that to get to the number of meals that I just provided you with, which is 104,000. But that does also encompass not only senior programs, but also childhood nutrition programs, as well as just our general food pantries.
And just a final on that one, then, do you include the Meals on Wheels in your documentation? Is that a separate, separate agency?
That is also included in here, Meals on Wheels, yes.
Shane Piccinini, for the record, Meals on Wheels is a separate entity. We do not include those in our numbers.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the questions.
Thank you very much. Senator Gokachia.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I've got to kind of roll clear back to basics on this. Clearly, there's been a huge change in the rural communities since the pandemic. Now, like in some of them, I know, are you affiliated with Catholic Charities, or is that food bank stuff that comes through? I'm assuming it's your products that are coming through at these local churches and all across rural Nevada. And clearly, we've had an uptick in that. Now, do you have to be enrolled in SNAP to access the program?
Shane Piccinini, for the record. So you are correct. We are, Catholic Charities is a partner agency of ours, Catholic Charities of Northern Nevada. But we also, I can provide you the list, it's on our website, but we have 150 partner agencies all through our entire 90,000 square mile service area that we distribute food through. So in Elko and Winnemucca and Ely, we've got partners all through there. SNAP is entirely, the supplemental nutrition program is an entirely separate program, and you do not need to be enrolled in SNAP in order to access any of our direct services of mobile harvest or produce on wheels or any of that to receive benefits. SNAP is an additional benefit that's layered on top of what we offer.
And it's kind of a quick follow-up now from Three Squares. She was talking about the people that you had to have a $200 income level, or the $200 you were available to you was going to drop to $30, especially if you were a senior. Can you explain that, or did I just mishear it?
Camila Rios, for the record. I'm not sure what you mean. So for the 200, okay.
I can answer that. Shane Piccinini, for the record. So during the pandemic SNAP allotment, right, when through the CARES Act and through the Americans, whatever the first coronavirus bill was, the Congress authorized an additional payment every month for SNAP recipients, and so and it allowed the maximum allotment so that families could get whatever the max was in the SNAP program. And so that raised up seniors from the $28 or whatever, $30 to that $200. That secondary payment is going away it went away. The last payment was made in March 17th or 15th. So going into April, they're only going to get that $30 benefit.
But again, that would be if you were enrolled in SNAP.
That is correct. So if you were enrolled in SNAP, then as a senior, somebody that's,
But this appropriation will, in fact, go to Three Squares and the food bank, and again, that will allow you to continue outside of SNAP and with your partner organizations.
Shane Piccinini, for the record, that's correct. This is to allow us to be able to supplement the available products that we can send out to the people the families and individuals that we serve.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Any additional questions? All right, seeing none, we will go to support for Senate Bill 341. If you are in support here in Carson City, go ahead, please come forward. And please go ahead when you're ready.
Hello, Chair and committee members. For the record, my name is Amber Falgout. That is spelled AMBERFALGOUT. I am the Northern Nevada Manager with Battleborn Progress, and I am here today to show our support for SB 341 and to thank Majority Leader Cannizzaro for sponsoring this bill. I'm currently working towards my master's in social work, and one of the civic engagement projects I chose to do was to raise money for the Food Bank of Northern Nevada. I chose this project because with the rising cost of food and the end of extra SNAP benefits, many in our community struggle to afford food, and or to afford enough food for themselves and their families each month. Additionally, funding to support the work of the Food Bank of Northern Nevada seemed like one of the ways I could be most impactful as our community faces rising food insecurity. As a mother who has been on SNAP benefits and at one time struggled to afford enough food each month for myself and my child, I understand the need for services provided by the Food Bank of Northern Nevada and 3 Square. SB 341 would provide more meals by allocating additional funding for these organizations to do the incredible work that they do regularly. More funding is absolutely necessary so they can meet the growing demand within our community. That is why we are here today in full support of SB 341. I urge the committee to move this bill forward so we can continue providing the assistance to the community. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Please go ahead.
Hi, good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Trevor Parrish, and I'm the Manager of Government Affairs at the Vegas Chamber. The Chamber is in support of this allocation, as 3 Square is an important community partner and provides an important social safety net in Southern Nevada. We urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I'm with you today as Sarah Adler, an individual who is and has for many years been on the board of Healthy Communities Coalition of Lyon and Story County. So we are one of the partner agencies that Shane spoke of. We have 3 food pantries in Lyon County, which are essential on a daily basis to a wide range of citizens who live in Lyon County. We are 100% in support of these allocations because in addition to the cost of food, the rising cost of rent, we have the rising cost of fuel, and Food Bank spends a lot of money getting food to us, and then we spend a lot of money doing homebound delivery to seniors of this food that they need so much. I'd like to add that on another bill I've worked on with 3 Square, they have pointed out, they have discovered in census data a high correlation between food insecurity, housing insecurity, and anxiety and depression. So if you think of the impact on our children in schools of living in food insecure homes, is devastating. So again, these appropriations will be really helpful to our most vulnerable Nevadans. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And seeing no more in support here in Carson City, we'll go to Las Vegas. Not seeing anybody at the table. BPS, can we go to the phone line, please?
Yes. If you are testifying in support, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Good morning. My name is Jim Brussman. I'm from, I live in Henderson and I'm a member of a church in a low-income neighborhood in Las Vegas that has the second highest rate of food insecurity in Clark County. For the last 4 years, we've operated a food pantry, monthly food pantry, and could not have done this without the help of 3 Square. They have provided the vast bulk of the food that we distribute once a month. What we have and we serve probably anywhere from 110 to 140 families each month, which comes out to about 500 to 700 people who are receiving food from us. Currently, we receive about between 3 to 5 tons of food each distribution day, once a month, and that amount has definitely gone down over the last couple of years. What with the cost of food and the decline in donors, and now we're really kind of nervous about what's happening now that the SNAP benefits, the pandemic SNAP benefits, have been decreased. So we are definitely in support of this. 3 Square has been terrific, and the need is just going to be going up. So thank you for entertaining this particular bill. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Hello, this is Elise Monroy Marsala with Bell's Case Government Affairs here on
behalf of the Nevada Public Health Association. As it was noted today during the bill presentation on May 11th, expanded SNAP benefits are slated to end. This will impact thousands of Nevada families, and Nevada food banks are a vital lifeline for these families that are struggling to make ends meet in these times of soaring housing costs and rising inflation. Oftentimes, the food budget is the first place that households make cuts in order to get by. The next budget is the medication budget. So both of those are harrowing decisions for families to have to make, and our food banks are supporting these families. NPHA supports this investment and hopes the committee would too. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Good morning. This is Barbara Monroy, and I represent the Community Food Pantry located in Sparks. We have been a partner with the Food Bank of Northern Nevada for many, many years, and we wouldn't be able to serve the average of 375 people per week that we do serve without that partnership. So we are in favor of Senate Bill number 341. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Hello, my name is Esli Amaya, and I am the Environmental Justice Organizer with the Progressive Leadership Alliance of Nevada, here in support of Senate Bill 341. At PLAN, we believe that everyone should have access to fresh and healthy food, and that food justice is bound to environmental justice. As the climate crisis worsens, fresh food will be less and less accessible. More and more Nevadans are requiring food bank services. As a first hearing taking place in the month of April, it is important to know that this month, the supplemental emergency allotments for SNAP benefits will stop for people in Nevada using that program. For some Nevadans, this means more than a 90% reduction in needed SNAP benefits. Growing up in Nevada myself and our community have struggled with food insecurity. Living in underserved areas, access to fresh and more nutritious foods has been an obstacle, leading to poor choices. In making sure our communities have access to food, we've all relied on mutual aid initiatives amongst the people's efforts. We need more support from food bank programs to provide basic needs and rights. This bill would allow Nevadans experiencing food insecurity to have more reliable access to food provided by the food banks of Northern Nevada and 3 Square here in Las Vegas. In order to have a healthy and thriving Nevada, we need healthy and thriving Nevadans. Please support this bill. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, this is Andrew McKay. I'm the Executive Director with the Nevada Franchise Auto Dealers Association. Just wanted to put our support on the record for these allocations. We strongly support the yeoman's work that both 3 Square and the Food Bank of Northern Nevada do for our respective communities, and we encourage the committee's passage of this measure. And also thanks to Majority Leader Canizaro for sponsoring the bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Good morning again, Anna Binder for the record. I just wanted to stay on and give full support for SB 341. Before the pandemic, I think it was more seen when you'd go out in public, and I feed a family of 8. So I spend a lot of time at the grocery store and interacting with our elderly and moms, just trying to make a budget work. And I know that there are, here in Southern Nevada, hundreds of mothers that are very worried about losing the additional SNAP benefits. And a lot of them are single moms that are trying to pay exorbitant rent and in childcare, just to keep a roof over their kids' heads. And they're very worried about where they're going to get food from. So this investment is, for all of our community. There's people, I think the pandemic showed, that were more food insecure than we were aware of. And even as we move past all of this and move forward into the future, food insecurity is not just limited to our state. As you know, it's a national issue. But the more that we invest in making sure that people have access to food, and I'll be on later for the prescription drugs, we're really taking care of our people. So thank you guys so much for bringing this forward, and thank you.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
That concludes all callers testifying in support.
Thank you very much, and we'll go to opposition. Any opposition here in Carson City? I don't see any in Las Vegas. We'll go to the phone lines. BPS, when you're ready, opposition.
If you would like to testify in opposition of SB 341, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. We have no callers to testify in opposition, Chair.
Thank you very much. We'll go to neutral here in Carson City. In Las Vegas, seeing none, we'll go to the phone lines. Neutral, please. BPS, when you're ready.
If you would like to testify in neutral for SB 341, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. We have no callers to testify in neutral.
Thank you very much. And with that, closing comments, Majority Leader. All right. With none, we will close the hearing on Senate Bill 341, and we'll go to our last item on the agenda, which is public comment. And please, when you phone in, keep in mind that we try to stick to about 2 minutes for each caller. Please state and spell your name for the record, and I'll begin here in Carson City. Seeing none, I'll go to Las Vegas. Seeing none, I will go to the phone lines. BPS, when you're ready for public comment.
If you would like to provide public comment, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. We have no callers for public comment.
Thank you very much. Then, committee members, this completes our business for this morning. I hope you have a good rest of the day, and this meeting is adjourned.